So welcome on this third Advent Sunday. I am addressing something that never crossed my mind to address in the way that I am now. And it's this concept of peace on earth. When I first was called about this movement and I read about it, I thought, come on, we see what's happening on the earth in terms of peace. What can I do? What can we do together? And so I want to show you some of the reasons that made me decide that I wanted to bring this subject to you and think actually what we can do all together. And so I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Come on, Linda. See if I can get this up here. Open my screen more. I have to. I have two different ways of getting this. Come on. Come on. Be nice to me. Huh. This is so interesting. Come on. Where are you? There we are. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Now, at the top of this slide here, if I can get up here, is this concept, or what I asked you to come together today to talk about peace on earth, and it's a specific movement, peace on earth, holding that intention, peace on earth by 2030. Now, as I said earlier, when I first read about this, I thought, wait a minute, come on, we can't just create peace on earth when you see what's going on around the planet. And actually, I printed this out and I'm going to read it to you because it's way too long to, to print out. And this is an invitation for Wednesday, December 6th. And we're going to put in the chat a link to that for those of you who would like to pull it up and listen to it. It's definitely, I hope I can intrigue you after this. And there's going to be another meeting on the 3rd of January. So this printout is what got me. The peace game and on Earth zones are based on 7 strategies. That's what we're going to be talking about. It's this peace game that ignited and enabled the world to come together in common cause in 1986 to bring a torch of peace around the world. Wherever the torch went, all wars stopped and the world was united as one. It's called the First Earth Run, and over 1 billion people around the world witnessed this global peace event via the media, with 25 million people and 45 heads of state and 62 countries directly participating. It was a rare moment on the planet. Now, because the time is right, the torch has been rekindled and a global peace movement has emerged saying, why not peace on earth? Why not now? And that torch was rekindled a couple of years ago, actually. And what made me interested to look at this movement and then to actually fully participate and join is the fact that in 1986, that was actually orchestrated by David Gershon. And it's David Gershon who has started this movement again and the games. And here, while the world's conflicts are accelerating, as we well know, there's a growing momentum of people and countries achieving peace through the Peace on Earth by 2030 movement. Over 5,600 people have taken 35,000 plus peace actions that have impacted almost 9 million people across 13 countries. And we've just begun. So the movement is a game changer for our world. If ever the world needed peace, it is now. If not us, who? If not now, when? So I want to propose, this is, you can Google this and get the game. And there are 3 parts of it. What if enough people playing a game could heal that which divides us in our communities and creates peace on earth in a decade? So the first is this personal transformation. And that's what we're going to be talking about, harmony with self, others, and the earth. And we'll talk about ways of doing that. And then once we have, that's one part of this triangle, the community transformation, realigning the social fabric. And many countries are already doing this, working in their own areas. And what I decided to do with our area, and I'll show you why. In 1996, actually, this is a picture of me receiving a Torch Award. And that award was given because I had been nominated for my lifelong devotion to a development of a heart-based method that nurtures a unique, peaceful connection between animals and people. And that's why I got this award. And I was thinking, wait a minute, almost everybody's here because we love animals. And I wanted to, some of you will not know this. This is let me actually make this full size. I can make it bigger. Doggone it. It won't go any bigger. So this is me in a tree in the 80s. And this is a tree, a 600-year-old tree that gave me this message that has guided me over all these years. And the message, and I got this from writing in a journal. I was sent out there to talk with this tree by Michael Rhodes, who earlier had a whole book called Talking with Nature dictated to him. It was the first book of a kind where somebody had actually brought through the voices of nature in this way. He's now written 22 books. And actually what I wrote here is in the foreword of his 22nd book called Entering the Secret World of Nature. And so this is basically, as I'm walking toward the tree, I'm getting these words in my head, and I figured no one else is talking to me. It's got to be the tree. And what the tree said, and what I've carried with me all these years, is that your race, meaning us, recognize the God within is only the start. And recognizing that divine, that source, that universal, phenomenal intelligence within every cell, that has been my passion since 1986, when I discovered the concept from Sir Charles Sherrington that every cell in the body knows its function in the body. And he won a Nobel Prize for making a connection to the whole nervous system. And these words have stayed with me the whole time, so that in this 1 1/4 touch, 1 1/4 circles that we have been teaching since 1983, it's this concept, wait a minute, our intention is to release fear and pain. And that's what we find that we can do. And it's been my question, wait a minute, how is this possible? And I believe it's because this spiral, which 1 1/4 circle is a spiral, that spiral is in our DNA. And when we actually make this movement on our bodies, what we have found is that you yourself can reduce pain, often absolutely disappear it, and you can also override fear. And so that was the first start here. This thing that your race recognized that God within is only the start. And it took me all these years. It was only until this year of doing TTouch and seeing all of these results that we were getting that I recognized, wait a minute, what is this amazing thing? So the tree went on to say, and this is what's important for us today, these words that, and the tree went on, and I wrote, that we, meaning the kingdoms of the plants, the animals, the minerals, and the nature spirits, are one with you, with us humans, is only the start. that we are recognized as one with you, this connection of oneness is with all it is. It is not only necessary for the survival on the planet, it is the key to heaven on earth. And for me, heaven on earth is when we remember that we are a part of all of these amazing nature and Mother Earth and all of the animals. Now, I was thinking about this, and what I came up with is this idea. Okay, why am I having this today? Because those of you who come because of your kitties, your dogs, your horses, and the fact that we have discovered with a peaceful method that we can actually change behavior. And in a friendly way, we can override resistance in animals, horses, dogs, and so forth. And what I was thinking about as I woke up this morning, I'm going to stop this just a minute. I want to stop this because I really want to see you. What I've been waking up at these last few mornings thinking, wait a minute. So much of what we believe in the animal world is not about peaceful ways of being with our animals. And I was thinking, most of you have already heard that I had to ride to school for the first 6 years of my life. And when I was 9, we moved to Edmonton and I started riding in a riding school. After school, riding my horse back and forth to the riding stable every day. And my riding instructor bucked horses out, and she had been hurt many times because she'd either been jammed against a fence or all kinds of accidents that she had. And as I think I was 11, when I was given the job, not a peaceful way of being with horses, I was given the job of getting on a string of school horses that rent horses, not school horses, sorry, rent horses that were rent out to strangers to ride out in the forest. And it was my job as this 11-year-old kid to take a rubber bat with a big bat and just get on and whack these horses, every horse, like one after the other. And that was supposed to teach them to listen. Interesting, eh? And then I thought of, I was really blessed when I was 12 to be handed this book in this really magical, mysterious way from this old man who hobbled out on a cane and brought me this book because he had seen over his back fence, he could see the riding arena and the round pen where horses were bucked out. And he saw me go back and forth every day and he handed me this book. And I started then with this peaceful way of starting young horses by ground driving them. But actually, I was thinking, when you first start with a young horse, if you just put reins on the bit, which is what is generally done, and then start driving them, they don't know how to stop or turn. And I can remember what I would do is just take one line if the horse was like freaking out because the line was touching its legs. And I would just pull one line and turn the horse in a small circle and wrap around their legs. This is not a peaceful way. And so over the years, I thought, wait a minute. I didn't think that was unkind. I just thought it didn't make sense because you have to know how to do that in order to be successful. And I was looking for ways, this was in my school later when I had a 9-month residential school for riding instructors and trainers. And not most people have never ground driven a horse or double lunged them. And so I had to look for ways of step by step making sure that a horse understood every single way that we were asking of them. And then it started when we started working with dogs in the 90s in these big trainings. It's still out there. I mean, it's amazing to me. This, when a dog doesn't do what you want, you correct them. This very not friendly way of telling the dog what we don't want instead of showing them what we do want. And we do the same thing with children. And I was thinking of this right here. I have this 2 pages. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but this is so significant because it's called Jessie, a TTouch for a 6-year-old. And the person who wrote this had been, I think, to 2-week-long trainings for dogs at this point. She was in Quebec, and her neighbor had a 6-year-old with behavioral problems. She was sent back, the school teacher that kicked her out of the school because she was acting up. And so this practitioner, Jessie, thought, well, we can work with animals to help them understand what we want. Maybe I could work with her. And she worked with her first in the labyrinth, and then taught her mother how to just do some of the circles on her body. And the child, when she went back to school, the teacher called the mother to ask her what had happened to this child. And she actually got, Jessie kept listening on her, for over several weeks. And this child learned that to take herself out to the side in the recess when she started to get over the top and not be able to behave or respond in the way the teacher wanted her to, or the kids, that she would just take herself away and stand quietly by herself. And this is what we found with the work in the labyrinth. If you've got a horse or a dog or a person who is maybe not as clear as they'd like to be, putting them in the boundaries of this labyrinth gives borders. And so we have these ways that we've developed over the years. And in 1982, until then, if you look at one of my old videos, I have a video of starting a young horse in 3 days, which is what we did without never any bucking or any problem. But at one point, this horse was concerned, and I gave him a whack on the chest, which when I look at that, I wouldn't even show that video today. I'm so horrified because he was going forward because he was afraid. So what else is he going to do? And when he has being driven by 2 lions. And so what we've come to this point of, wait a minute, chunk it down. And what made me decide that was one sentence in the book called, The Course in Miracles. And it's this concept that aggression, whether it's when a horse bites or a dog bites or kicks or horse kicks or like a child acts out, aggression comes from a place of fear and is a cry for help. And when I read that, I remember thinking back to a horse that I'd given a whack when he'd done something, like probably snapped or done something. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. If aggression comes from a place of fear and I'm being aggressive by punishing, and you'll still read it in some of the books by some trainers that I know really basically love horses. And they think it's okay when the horse bites to hit them like they think they're going to be killed. That's just, we have this in us when we respond from fear. And so I believe this gathering of people together can acknowledge, just begin to think with everything that each one of us does when we do something with a horse or a dog. Am I showing this animal what I want, or am I correcting them for what they don't want? It's like this idea. One of my friends was just signing up as a volunteer for a therapeutic riding program in Phoenix last month. And one of the horses that has been giving them real problems came out and was really, not walking quietly, not listening. And the trainer ran the horse back and then started to walk forward. But the horse was still not understanding what it's supposed to do. And so it was still jumping around. So she ran it back again. Why? Because that's what she's been taught. Why has she been taught that? Because that's what people know. And that's where this is really important, you all. This concept of forgiveness. And we're in the Christmas season, and one of the messages, primary message from the divine, from Jesus, from the Christ energy, is forgiveness. And that means forgiving ourselves for all the stuff. If you start to think about this, we have to forgive ourselves, because if you've worked with animals a lot, when you stop to think about it, you might have ways, if you would look at it from this point of view, that you would do it differently today. Forgive yourself. I certainly have done lots of it over the years, until I read that one sentence: aggression comes from a place of fear and is a cry for help. And so we know it works. Like when a horse is standing in cross ties and doesn't want to, theoretically, is being dominant because he's not standing still for grooming, you give them a whack and yell at them and they'll stand still, but they're going into freeze. And how does that make you feel? Hopefully not so good. And the fact is, we do have other ways. And Marnie has written, thank you, Marnie, so much. She's written one of this books in the chat. The first one we're reading is Ho'oponopono by Ulrich Dupre. I've read this book many, many times, and it's really a beautiful little book. And the second book that she's going to put in is a book also called Ho'oponopono, but it's the book of Ho'oponopono. And this is by 3 authors: Luc Bodin, Natalie Bodin, Lamboy, and Jean Griciot. And the thing is, the reason I recommend that book for people who like to understand what's behind. Why does this Ho'oponopono, this Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness, why does it work? And one of the reasons it may work is because of the energy behind it, because this book is in so many languages translated, and it's been used by so many people. And we know that everything is energy. If you have read about quantum science, and I hope that if you haven't, that you will come to a place of understanding that the world isn't a dog-eat-dog world like we learned in school from this old science concept, but it's a place where there can be peaceful interactions. And so I would love to just invite us all to know, and I am going to go back to sharing for a moment I'm going to go back to the screen share because I want you to actually see this. Come on. Oops. Gotta have stuff popping up here. Yeah, just a moment. Okay, Linda, where is it? PowerPoint. There we are. Okay, I want you to see a couple of books here. This one. This book is A Spontaneous Healing of Belief. For those who don't know yet, haven't delved into quantum science, it's really important because it's a way of seeing our world in a totally different way. And one of the concepts that Greg Braden writes about in such a way that is, I think, life-changing is this concept that every thought we have, every feeling, every emotion that we have, and every belief is energy. And so we can start to just be with our animals in a different way. It's like, this is a picture that I love. This was a horse in a training in 2019, and he was a really heavy warm blood. And the person brought him to us because he said the horse was resistant. He didn't listen. And he couldn't get him to go forward. And the fact is, I was just amazed at this horse. He had so little feeling in his body. He wasn't, he didn't feel his legs. His legs were really heavy. His movement was heavy. And the fact is that the guy didn't like him. And so I said, wouldn't you really like to find somebody who would love this horse? Because there are a lot of people who would appreciate the fact that he was more grounded and that he was slower he wasn't reactive. And it's so easy with our methods by doing TTouch over the whole body and doing the leg circles, and that we can bring him to a place where he feels his body. That's what we do with animals. Bring them to a place by making these connected circles over the whole body to bring them into the body so that they dare to be interested and curious, and they have the capacity to do that. And this concept, I just brought up another picture because I wanted to show you, for those of you who may not have seen this concept that we can change behavior and performance and well-being and relationships peacefully by holding the intention of what we want rather than dwelling on what we don't want. So in terms of peace on this planet, if we learn to be with our horses, with this, or our dogs or our kitties, and bring them into the body and give them a sense of a place, a peaceful place, and peaceful way of being together. And this is just typical right here. Some of you may have seen this. It's in the library, in the community library, this PowerPoint. This horse came to me because he was brought by the trainer, who's really nice guy. This is Italy on the weekend sport horse class. And you can see his ears are up and back. His tail is up in the air with this red line is following his tail. He had these tiny, tiny little flies all around him. He was the only horse there that had them. They weren't around us, only around him. He was so out of the body and in such distress. And look at, you see this, where this green line is, that's where that front foot should be. It should be forward. And this hind leg foot should be back along the green line. And when a horse is in this posture, he would, and you see very ewe-neck. He couldn't think, he couldn't breathe. You see his back has dropped, his head is up. He has this really tight, look at this poor guy with his eye. Now, what we did was simply do the work through the labyrinth. And this is like over 3 days, an hour a day. And then he had an hour of just quiet body work on him in the stall. And this is how the horse went, just by putting the balance rein on him and putting him through these exercises where he could understand what we were asking of him. And this concept of changing the posture, and you can modify behavior and transform personality. And this is what we're looking for, this heart to heart, soul to soul, and cell to cell connection with our dogs, our horses, our kitties, with all of our animals, our little ones, other animals and birds that you have. Now, so my idea is, okay, what we also need to do this is, in my experience, this concept, fear, letting go of fear. How do we let go of fear? And this is one of the most wonderful books. I'd love to know if any of you read this, what your concepts are. This is Jerry Jampolsky's Love is Letting Go of Fear. And it's this concept, we all carry fear. And years ago, when I couldn't even say the word love, I'd had a lot of experiences with my first husband that for which I've now totally forgiven him because now I understand them. But I had a lot of fear and I couldn't use the word love. And so I read Louise Hay's book. And what she says, if you can't use the word love, which I know quite a few people have had not such good experiences, so they can't, use the word gratitude. And that's where be grateful for something. And that's where, over this period that we're in now, when the world is, holy mackerel, seems like it's up in flames or famine or floods, if we can just go to gratitude, because gratitude overrides fear. And I started being able to use the word love around horses, actually. And I meant to bring up a picture, and I didn't have time, a picture with me working with them, Frederic Pignon. And if, for those of you who have watched Frederic and Magali, his wife, they are with horses in a way that just exudes understanding and gratitude and love. And Fred was translating for me when we were doing a clinic together in southern Italy. And he described what I was doing as coming from a place of love. And I'd never heard that word used in the horse world before. This is a lot of years ago. And I thought, if this guy who is so amazing with horses and people, if he can use that word love, I can learn to use it too. And I've known Jerry Jampolsky for years, and we actually did a workshop together in the early 90s, recovering our soul retrieval workshop in Australia. And I finally got it. And I've had personal experiences, which I'm really interested to know if any of you have dealt with fear, because we all have it. It's in our cells. And I've had this experience in a past life regression where I saw that every human on the planet has fear in every cell in our body. That's been our survival mode also. So when we can have a choice of saying, okay, wait a minute, that's where the logical left brain comes in. Because if you can feel your body, and I'm going to stop this share a moment because I want us to put one hand over the other on our center of our chest, which is our heart chakra. And just know that if you are in a place of fear, or when you are feeling stressed, too much to do, oh my God, can't get it all done, put one hand lightly over the other. Imagine the face of a clock here on your chest, on your heart chakra, and put the 6 o'clock toward the ground. And again, I'm going to say these numbers because every time you think of this, 6 o'clock, my 9 is here to my right shoulder, 12 toward the chin, 3 toward the left shoulder. Why do I put those numbers? Because the numbers activate our left brain, our logic. We have to have that to function. And if we're in a place of fear or fright or stress, we can't think clearly. And if we just imagine that clock, and as soon as we imagine that clock there, imagining activates our right brain. And I keep saying this every time, and I really recommend it's worth writing this down or remembering it. So our right brain, what is it responsible for? How can we find peace within ourselves? Because that's what we're talking about, this peace on earth, with these peace games, finding that peace within. And how can we find it? We can find it by this activating both hemispheres of the brain. So we've got our logical left brain just from the numbers that we have on there, on this imaginary clock. When you imagine something, that activates our feeling, our creativity, our compassion for ourselves, others, Mother Earth, and all that is, and our intuition. And I'm going to put this out, this intuition, this definition that I love of intuition, and that is, intuition is the manifestation of divine consciousness within you. Receiving and listening to and understanding its messages will change your life and help you find your true path. And this is what I feel this Christmas, that I have come to this place of having all these people who come together. When I just put this thing out on Friday, oh my God, what you going to talk about this time? Let's see. Because I believe we all want that place of peace. And I would just like to open this chat now and stop chatting on and hear from some of you about this and invite you. What this meeting on the 6th was about was people who want to dream and to make these changes either in your community. I'm considering this a community of people who love animals and love the earth, and within ourselves, and catch ourselves every time you say something. Oh, was that friendly? Was that peaceful? And you say, maybe I can find another way. And give yourself a little hug and a heart hug. Because when you do this hug, I didn't finish saying this, what this will do, moving this 1.25 circles over this heart chakra, it will bring you to a place of heart coherence, and it takes you away from the control of your amygdala, this primitive part of the brain that had fear for survival, and activate our forebrain. So we actually realize, wait a minute, we're right here, and we can be in a place of peace within, and find that, and know that when you reach out with this almost 1.25, 5 degrees short of 1.25, which is that sacred spiral in all of our DNA, in all of nature, that we are creating peace within ourselves, and that is having an effect on the entire planet. So just know, by catching yourself or saying, I choose to see that animal who's being like dominant, as it's often called. What if we threw out that word dominant and we went to find a place of understanding? Wait a minute, how can we bring this animal to a place where they're safe, they're happy within the family, and they get as much out of being with us as we get of being with them? That's what I would love to have a sharing from, and just see. Go to the bottom if you would like to say something, and just know that anything you have to say, whatever it is really appreciated. Let's do it. Let's do some sharing. Go to the bottom and you'll see a place that says reactions, and you can put your hand up there, or you can send a heart or clapping or whatever you want if you agree with somebody. So I'm going to go and see the gallery. Who would like to talk about this place of peace? Valentina, hi. Ava, hi, lovely to see you. Please tell us where you are and then unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm so happy to see you, Linda. I have not been able to make it to any of these Sunday classes, but finally, I miss you so much. So you have been my inspiration for everything that I do with people, with dogs, with horses, all the time. And you have directed my path to so many wonderful things. And one of the biggest things that I did because of you was really went after the HeartMath organization. And I became a HeartMath facilitator, which I use along with TTouch to amplify what TTouch is. And that's what I teach. And at every session that I go to, the first thing we do is a heart hug and heart-focused breathing. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know these things. But when you talk about, you always say every thought, every belief, everything. Well, and HeartMath put the science behind the energy that we send out into our magnetic field. So everything that we do goes out into the field. And I always ask the people I work with, what are you feeding the field? And that really helps people stop and think, like, what am I feeding the field? What is your thought? What is your belief? How are you feeling? What are you bringing towards that animal? Don't even approach them if you can't come with grace and love and compassion. And it has made a huge difference in who I teach and what I teach and why I teach. And the response that I get, of course, you know, the horses never lie, and they're always my best feedback because they tell you right away. But it's just been an amazing journey because of you. And there is one dog in my neighborhood that has been brought up with anything but love. And every time I walk by this dog who's on this choker collar that I can do nothing about, all I say to this dog is, oh, you're so beautiful today. That's what I tell her every day. And that's her thought, that I don't even know if her owners appreciate how beautiful she is. But, you know, that's what this is all about. It's what you think and say. And you don't even have to do anything. All you have to do is think it, believe it, and put it out and feed the field. And that's what you're talking about with this whole December to now to 2030. Yeah, it's right. What are we going to feed the field until then?
Yes, and I'd like to add two things to that. One, if you don't know about Heart Math, go to heartmath.com, because they have so many wonderful, constantly free talks by some of the leading wonderful people on the visionaries on the planet. Greg Braden is often on there, many, many people. And the other thing I wanted to say is forgiveness, because for those, first of all, we can hold for that dog who's on the chain out there. We could either put a blame on it, or how we can bring peace to the planet is say, wait a minute, that person has a reason, they don't know any better. I can hold, and these are key words in quantum science, the infinite possibilities. And you'll read that over and over with Greg Braden. Infinite possibility that person will find another possibility. Or maybe you could even consider finding and this is part of the peace games. And if those, and Ava, I really recommend that you go and just look at Peace on Earth, and you'll find ways to register. I couldn't find it. They're just not that organized. I've talked to several people. We tried to find how to send you directly to a place where we can start organizing this, but it's not quite there yet. So I would consider, and you can, you know, ask the universe if this would be worthwhile. Just maybe see if there's a way to start up a friendly conversation with the people there. It's not so easy. I would, you know, ask your body if it's a good idea. And I
did do it. It didn't.
Happened?
It wasn't good. Okay. Because that's not what their belief in training was so far from anything. And I just offered to tell them, I even said to them, you know, I don't want to be a know-it-all. I prefaced it that way. I said, but maybe you could use a harness instead of a choker collar. Oh my God. That was like, you know, as if I told them to slit her throat. I mean, it just didn't go well. And you know what? That's why I just send her love every day.
But this is important, because send love, but also send forgiveness.
Yes. Yeah.
That is about forgiveness. And I might suggest, rather than making a suggestion of how they could change something, I don't know, I would say, like, is the dog on the chain all the time?
A choker chain when they walk her. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I thought you meant tied up on a chain.
No. When they walk her,
Ava, you have to listen to me. I wouldn't. You need forgiveness for thinking that you could make a suggestion. So, because I've been there, done that, doesn't work.
No, it didn't.
Nice dog. Nice dog, lovely dog you've got there. Just send love. You were right. I thought you meant that the dog was chained up, which is what we see.
No.
Okay, never mind you all. But no buts. And this is where we can say, wait a minute. Instead of thinking, oh yay, you know, that's not so good. Let's just hold the infinite possibility that something will perhaps change, that person might find another possibility. And the choke chain, you know, I've seen dogs go on choke chains totally lightly. It's a question of do you correct them with it? You know, I don't want to say some of the other things that I don't want to bring that energy in. So how can we use this to bring peace on earth? Let's hold this, the words are infinite possibility that that person might find another chain. And you can forgive yourself for not realizing, whoa, that wouldn't work. Good try, Ava. Thank you for sharing that. It's so important. And it's the 4 phrases. Marnie, I'm sure you probably already written these in. 4 parts of the Ho'oponopono prayer. Really simple. And I can tell you from experience, it really does work. First of all, you say, whatever the situation is, I'm sorry. And you can use that, Ava, however, in this case, I'm sorry, please forgive me. You're just asking source energy, please forgive me. Thank you that I'm forgiven. And I love you. And the I love you is the hardest part of all, actually, to say, because it really means I love yourself. I love that divine within, or I accept, I love that source in every being. There's no person on the planet, no animal that doesn't have that source energy. How do you think we see or feel or hear? We're amazing. All these trillions of cells in this body, they're actually run by what some of the scientists call command central. I can't say what it is, but many people call this God or Allah. It depends what part of the world you're in, and it's just this divine source within all of us. And I can say I love you to that, whether I'm feeling guilty myself. I can say that no matter what I'm thinking about myself or my animals. And I want to say to you, that doesn't mean that if it's an animal who's having some behavior that is not safe or not useful in a, by useful, I mean, let's put safe about it. Then it's not that we accept that behavior. We can hold in a person like this person you're talking about, the infinite possibility that they will find a way to change, not that we will change them. Or with our animals, that's where we have this TTouch method, that we can, in a peaceful way, chunk it down step by step so they can understand what it is we need to stand still, to be safe, to listen, to come. And then let's bring into that celebrating curiosity and leaving them some space to play with us, to be when they come to that place that they have self-control. And we can do that. And in this way, we can bring this concept of peace to the planet. The idea is to create teams. That's what the peace games are about. And that's what I'd hoped to have for you all, actually, to share exactly how we're doing this. And it has to do with people who are willing to spend 2 hours. I'm trying to think if it's 6 times or 8 times, finding ways to bring peace in their community. And in this case, we'll be working together within ourselves, sharing these ways. So on the 3rd of January, there's going to be another meeting like this. And I will, as soon as we find out, I haven't had a chance to hear back from David Gershon yet, how they're going to publicize this. For any of you who want to be dream makers, to actually get a group together in your part, or if you want to join me on this game, and it goes for over 4 months. It's every couple of weeks for 2 hours that we're committing to working together. So I would like, if you're interested, if you could send a note to Kirsten at TTouch.com and say that you're interested, so that we can send you information as soon as we have how we're going to do this and what the Zoom session will be. And if you just want to listen and maybe start your own group or join another group, then I'm going to put out, as soon as I know it, I'll send out messages to all of you who were on this call and get you, right? The way we signed up before, it was POE, like Peace on Earth, dot earth, EARTH /December-6. So I assume it's going to be the same in January-3. That's the next meeting. So, but I want to hear from other people. I would really like to know if any of you have had experience, you'd be willing to share with for others with the Ho'oponopono or with Jerry Jampolsky's Love is Letting Go of Fear, or any other thoughts that you have about fear or your experience with heart math and with heart hugs. Because if you're in a place of not peace, you can, with 1 1/4 circles and a smile and thinking of something for which you are grateful, in 2 minutes, you can bring yourself to a quiet spot. And the reason that we add the touch to it, our fears are held in the body. That's been proven by Dr. Candace Pert. And we think it's in our head. So if we only work with those fears from our head thoughts, it's not going to go as quickly to the depth of this. Ayla, I see your hand is up. Thank you. Unmute yourself.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Just moved over from Robin.
Oh, super. Yeah, she wanted to be on, but she's running a class right now.
I'm trained in heart math, so I do the heart hugs all the time, and I'm a mental health therapist with my main profession. So I teach this constantly to clients of mine, and this is really amazing what it does in trauma, in PTSD, how this helps. And I practice for myself a lot of Ho'oponopono. I had this from a friend years ago. She taught me that. And it's really amazing if you, even when you are really angry, you can use this when you especially think about, I'm not talking to the personality, I'm talking to the soul of this human being. And then to the bigger picture. So it's very, very helpful, both of it, heart math and Ho'oponopono. And then, of course, I teach all kinds of touches to my clients, TTouches to my clients, to calming them down and getting grounded again and things like that. So it's all very, very, very supportive for myself and for my clients.
Thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. You know, it's interesting. I've been connected to Heart Math for many, many years. And about 5 years ago, they sent their head of their new trauma department to spend 4 days with me in Hawaii with Eleanor Silverstein and Sandy Rakowitz. And they were thinking of bringing the heart hugs into their work. And I don't know why they didn't add it, because when you actually work on the body, something different happens when it's just in the head. And of course, it's such beautiful work, but we need to feel ourselves. And that's one of the things that happened over COVID, was this concept of feeling deficit syndrome, because we weren't shaking hands, we weren't hugging, this separation that felt. So adding the heart hug into this beautiful, incredible work that they do is such a gift. Thank you for sharing. Other people who would like to talk about, how many of you have actually read the beautiful work of Jerry Jampolsky and the Center for Attitudinal Healing? They're in 32 countries. And the primary thing is teach forgiveness. It's one of the biggest things that we can do, forgiving ourselves to start with, and then acknowledging that. When we do acknowledge that, when we do something that we wish we hadn't, and we say, oh, wait, I can change that, we change the world. It's interesting. I have where is this little card? Somebody sent me this beautiful little card, and it's from Thich Nhat Hanh. And it says, when we touch one thing, we touch the world. I put it somewhere else. When we touch one thing, we touch the world. Knowing that when we touch with consciousness and deep appreciation and gratitude, we're changing right there. We're making peace on the planet. So I would love to just know from any of the rest of you what if you have any more questions, because I can answer quite a few of them, I hope, from the Peace on Earth 2030, that we can create this. Maria, hi.
Hi, Linda. So good to see you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, I think you said, but really the most important thing to bring peace to Earth is to find peace with oneself. I think that's the most important thing, to find peace with oneself, with the inner child, to forgive oneself, and try to be peaceful within the smallest, your family and friends. And you can't change if there's war or peace in, say, Ukraine or anywhere, but you can change if there's peace inside of yourself. And that's the most important thing.
Beautiful, thank you. And that's one of the 3 legs of it, seeing peace within ourselves. That's where we start. And I feel it with our animals, because most of us are drawn here together because animals brought us together. And I consider TTouch a gift from the animals, that we can find these ways of finding always more peaceful ways of being with our animals.
Yeah.
And we can find that.
And I think sometimes it's the hardest part to forgive yourself and have peace with yourself. It's harder than, say, forgive your partner, forgive your kids, forgive maybe your parents. That's not easy sometimes, but the hardest thing is to forgive yourself. And it's I think it's the basic where you have to start if you want to bring peace to the world.
Absolutely. Do you know this book?
No, I didn't read it. I want to buy it now.
To bring peace to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the, I believe, Jerry Jampolsky. And it's based on the Course in Miracles. That's what moved him.
Do you know if it's available in German? Because I'm not
Oh,
native.
absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
Not a
great.
question.
Okay.
In many languages. They're in 32 countries.
Okay. So I will find it.
Yes, you will, definitely. And also in German, you're so blessed because Ulrich Dupre does a free talk on YouTube. Look him up. He is the most wonderful person.
Okay, thank you. Great.
And that will also help you find peace within, I know.
Thank you so much.
So who else would like to share? Just know that whenever you share, it's a great gift to all of us, because no matter what you say, it's going to speak to numerous people. And it's hard to speak up thinking, oh, well, what do I have to say? Every person has a gift. Valentina, hi.
Hi. I'm reminded of a time when I had to I was having a lot of strife with a family member, and I had to make a phone call to that person, and my stomach was just in a knot. I was thinking, I'll say this, then he'll say that. I'll do this. I went through the whole thing in my head in a negative conversation. And all of a sudden, it was like inside my brain, I pulled the plug out of that line. And I changed my mind about who I thought that person was. And I started remembering wonderful things about him and what he did and what he gave and how he was. And instead of saying, but he's never that way with me, I just saw him and stopped rehearsing what to say so that he would say the right thing back and how it would go. And I picked up the phone and dialed. And it was as if an entirely another person answered the phone. Just my having changed my thinking, it was as if it turned him into a different person. There was no anger in his voice. I started off the conversation with an apology to him. And I said, I don't want us to have this relationship that we've had up till now. I love you and I want us to have a love relationship. And he started to cry. He himself said, I've been thinking the same exact thing and I didn't know. He said, thank you so much for calling. I didn't know how to start this conversation off. And we went from there. But it was just the tone and the softness in his voice when he picked up the phone was as if he had become entirely different. And he hadn't. He was who he always had been. I had seen him already in my head as that person before I picked up the phone. And it made all the difference in the world.
And it's so perfect that you say that, because this is what this whole, for me, this whole beautiful Christmas season that we know of, this season of giving, of coming from the heart, of appreciation, of forgiveness. And it's so interesting that you had that experience. I had exactly the same experience years ago, and you reminded me of, I was staying with Ursula Bruns, and all night I was up thinking what I was going to say to her, because I thought the way she had treated me was really terrible. And finally I got up the courage and told her that, and she said, Linda, why didn't you tell me that before? I would have done it completely differently. Yes, you remind me of that. And it's so hard, isn't it, to pick up that phone or see that person differently, and seeing the divine self, that source self, higher self in every person, and knowing that, what we see in the ego self is not the whole person. So seeing that it's such a gift, and that's how we can, each one of us, bring peace on the planet. Hi, Eleonora. Thank you for putting your hand up. Oops, you're still muted.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. This was a lovely moment just now. And I thought by doing the heart hug, and sometimes it's like allowing myself to be curious. There's also the shift how I see myself. So this, like, there's a whole other, so over the years, a whole other Ellen could come for, and the one that was holding on to things and was still resentful about something long time ago. And then I had a mom who had a mental illness, so it took a long time to understand. But all of a sudden I can see her, and I'm wearing her wedding rings. It took me a long time, and I said, hi, Mom. So that piece, I can feel it. I carry it into the world right now. And it's so wonderful. And so the heart hug is, There's still resistant people, but I'm telling whoever wants to hear, but I can feel it more like who would be open. And sometimes you can also do it on your hand. You don't have to do it here. Thank you so much. My first time, by the way, I'm so thankful. Many, many years ago, there was a celebration of your work in Santa Fe, and it was there so long ago.
Oh, beautiful.
you.
And this year we're having a celebration in Orlando to gather people from around the planet. That's going to be really fun. Thank you for sharing that. Thank
You're
you so
welcome. Thank you.
much. Forget. Hi. Unmute yourself.
Hi, it's great to be here. I first actually met up with you. Well, not really met up, but I saw what you were doing was back in the 90s at the US Pony Club Nationals competition. And I was so intrigued about it and everything. So I started picking up your books and learning more and more about it. Well, anyway, that the TTouch and working with a couple of other instructors that kind of are along the same lines about peacefully working with your horses and animals. I have, learned to ground myself. The animals are actually the horses, cats, it's like I'm attracting them. I've had comments from people saying, boy, these horses always end up going towards you, and it's like, well, I can't help it. I'm just standing here and they're just coming towards me. But anyway, just recently there was an experience with a person at my barn that she has a thoroughbred that she's working with. And the one day I happened to be there and I saw she was working with her horse, trying to relax her horse. And I'm saying, like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just trying to relax him. Someone told me to do this method. And I said, do you mind if I suggest something? And she said, sure. I've known her for a while, so she didn't mind, my advice. And I said, here, why don't we try this? So she stopped her horse in the center of the arena. And I said, why don't we try this? And I just started doing TTouch on the horse's neck. And right away, the horse kind of put his head down and relaxed. Now she was unable to touch his pole. And I worked from the withers straight up to the pole, and the horse just put his head down. I was able to touch his pole. He was like, oh, this feels so good. And she's like, oh my gosh, is that TTouch? I said, yes, this is TTouch. And she was amazed. And she's like, I said, if you want some more help with it, I'll be happy to help you out with it. And she was like, oh my gosh, and she was just so grateful about that. So overall, it's been very helpful, and I'm glad I was at Pony Club Nationals that year.
That is so beautiful because Marnie Reeder wants to say something, and she's been the one who's saying we've got to send people to, to Pony Club Nationals every year.
Yeah,
Marnie,
well,
thank
my
you
son,
for sharing.
yeah.
Marnie.
Well, I was just going to mention that if people want to save the chat, if they don't know how to, I could just real quickly tell you how to save the chat, because all of that information is there in people's resources, etc. If you go to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, if you click on the chat and go to the bottom, at the all the way to the bottom, there's some icons over there on the left, and then there's 3 dots. Click on the 3 dots and you get a little menu, and the top of it says save chat. And that will send the chat to you so you can go back and look at it.
Great, thank you so much.
Linda,
Yes.
may I say something?
Please, yes.
I am, this is a new rescue boy from yesterday joining the pack.
Oh, that's you. You brought him. He's beautiful.
Yes, and he's been in a crate most of his 7 months, and
Oh.
I've been, insecure, but I've been doing TTouch with him.
Great.
I was late today because I wanted to be very consistent with him, but I was just forgot,
And
There he
that's
is.
beautiful. And, he's got that beautiful hair. You can do just tiny little, very gentle slides on the hair, and many dogs love that.
That's, I've been doing that, Linda. I've been focusing on ears and just that gentle.
Yeah. Well, do the whole body, all of you, because you want to bring him into the body in a safe way, so that do something he's intriguing that he just loves, like,
Oh,
that there I
okay.
am.
And with my other hand, just be moving,
Just
hold.
be comfortable, whatever. So, because how you're sitting, you want to be comfortable yourself. If you can have two hands on, it's great, but only if you're really comfortable. Otherwise, just imagine it.
Yeah. So this is Corey coming
Oh,
from
Corey, look at you.
Corazon and Cour and
Beautiful.
you.
So I want to share something with you because that we're staying over a lot longer than usual. Well, it's not so much longer, but I want to share something with you on this Christmas season. And it's, I want, Lassie, back up, please. Back up. I have a beautiful collie who's wanting to be part of this all. Okay, Griffin, just a moment. I'm going to give you a tour. Just because I love to have a book in my hand. You don't have to get this book, but I decided I needed something to spend the next, as Jane Fonda says, my next act. What am I going to do that that makes a difference on the planet? And so I put it out there. Wait a minute, what am I looking for that I can do it from home? Because my husband has Parkinson's, so he's not going to be traveling with me, so I'm not going to be traveling as much. And so a friend said, Linda, have you ever heard of these gene keys? It's GENEKEYS. I hadn't. And so it's actually, Susan, it was Jean who told me this.
Yes.
So I said, no. And so I looked it up, and I recommend, I want to hear after if some of you have, but you just go to www.genekeys.com, and up at the top it says free resource. And you just put in your birth date and your location and the time. You don't have to put your name in. So if you're afraid that somebody's going to take your name, you don't even have to put your name in. And then you get back within a minute these three, where is it? Here. You get back this is like an astrological reading based on the I Ching, 6,000-year-old I Ching, but it's more than that. From another point of view, you get back my genius, which means my life's work, and my evolution, which is what I'm here to learn, and my radiance, which is what keeps me healthy. And it is so spot on. It's unbelievable. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to look up on YouTube. And so I put in Richard Rudd's name and YouTube, and I got this beautiful teaching. And I'm so involved in this now because it's all of the things that I've known. And for my key, it says that I'm here to be in service. And that's why I'm doing these every Sunday, even though I'd like to be going out to lunch with Linda Klomika, who's here. But I really want to be with you all because each one of us, just from being together here, we are putting out to the planet this fact that, we can come from a place of peace with ourselves, our animals, and sharing that. So thank you for sharing that, little Corey. Hello, Catherine.
Good evening, Linda.
Hi.
You mentioned the gene keys in the British Isles Guild Zoom the other day, and so I did it. It was amazing. I love it. But I also thought it was very similar to human design. Have you looked into that as well?
No.
Because with the great thing about the human design is that if you know when your horse or your dog or your cat is born, you can do charts for them as well, which is
Perfect.
really exciting.
That's beautiful. And can you put it in the chat what that is?
Yes, I will do.
Thanks. Because the sound isn't 100%. Mary, hi. You're muted still.
Is that better? There we
Yes.
go. So speaking of the gene keys, I got the audio version of the book.
Oh,
So
I
I
have
can
too.
listen to it because I do a lot of driving these days. So I can listen to it. It's a lot of information, and I can see the book is also going to be necessary. But I've liked going on to his website. There's all kinds of free information, and I haven't gone through to purchase the 3 keys that I think they're designed for yourself and purpose. But I'm going to look forward to doing that. And to answer the question, it is based on his experience with human design.
Yes, that's true. I
Yeah.
forgot to say that because I
Yeah.
only did human design once, so it didn't mean so much for me. Actually.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I had it done in 1998. And I found my old paperwork on that. And I found it really hard to understand. I don't know whether it's just because the way the information was presented. The gene keys I'm finding fascinating. And I've had a chance to do a few of my friends. And it does bring a whole line of insight into behavior. And it's fascinating. It just seems like this can be an unending teaching.
Yes, and what it's about is embracing your higher purpose.
Yeah.
That's my interest. What can I do? How can I best use my time on the planet?
Yeah.
And it made such a difference to me just and so what I'll share with you actually, because I can give you another little gift. This is a little Christmas gift that I got last week, and it's been a game changer, you all. And that is Roland is listening to this series of doctors talking about Parkinson's, and one of them was a guy named, I don't know if he's a chiropractor or what he is. His name is Ari Witten, Witt, I believe it's O-N. And he showed ways of breathing. And, in our 9 elements, breathing is one of the most important when we do the circles, that we pay attention to our breath. And I do that when I do a TTouch circle. But I realized I haven't been breathing, you all. And so I'll show you, he does like 2 ways of breathing. And I recommend you look him up. It's ARI. I think it's Witton, Witten, Ari. And so he does fire breathing. Maybe somebody here knows it. In 2 days, my energy level has changed. And he shows you do it like 30 to 50 times. And in the end, and because he's talking about people who have such fatigue, they can hardly stay on their feet, which is where I was at. And in spite of all the wonderful support I have and all the things I'm doing, but I forgot the breathing part. So he goes like 30 to 50 times, like as fast as you can, and then you breathe out fully, and then you time yourself on your phone how long you can hold your breath without taking a deep breath. And I've just done that like every day, and it's given me so much hope. I can't get over it. I have so much energy because I always have it when I'm on with you all, and then I would get up and that I could barely walk. And now I keep it. The other thing is, and for those of you who are walking with dogs, it's easy to do. I did it for years and then I forgot. because it's so hot in Florida in the summer, you can walk. So anyway, you breathe in, what I do, breathe in 6 steps, out 6 steps, in 6 steps, out 6 steps. And you just keep doing it. And for years, what I would do is then, okay, I breathe in 6, hold it for 6, breathe out 6. And then you play with it, breathe in 6 steps, breathe out 6 steps, and then see, can you breathe out 12 steps out? Because you want to breathe out more than you breathe in. And anyway, that's made it so I can walk with the dogs way farther than I could before already, just in a few days. Anyway, that's Ari, and I really recommend that. He sells a lot of products, and I'm sure they're good. I haven't ordered yet. I don't know, but I really appreciated that. And the other thing he said, and if anybody else has any experience with this, he said for chronic fatigue, which is I have Epstein-Barr, I've been dealing with it. So I'm getting a sauna, because he said 140 degrees in the sauna for 30 minutes a day for 30 days, and your fatigue will be gone. So we'll see, right? But it's already so much better from my fire breathing and my walking with the dogs in a different way. So I don't want to leave you all, but I want to see if anybody has any other sharing that they have in terms of the gene keys, because I've given this to quite a few groups in the last few days, or to your feeling about joining us, either joining a group to meet over these 4 months, every couple of weeks for a couple of hours, or just picking up the torch yourself and just finding that within, and knowing that by simply doing that and being with your animals and just forgiving yourself for every time you make what you think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. You think, oh, good, I caught myself. That's a huge gift to the planet, just that. And know that when you do that, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, everything we touch touches everyone. Know that you are touching everyone on the whole planet when you recognize that, when you forgive yourself. Eleonora, you're still muted. Oops, unmute.
Just to add with the gene keys, from the 64 IGs or gene keys, it's like describing a person, like you would say a person's very tall or very thin. So you have this incredible portrait. But what I so like about him is that he emphasizes it's a journey and it's a process. And to really see that our shadow side is part of the learning, and that in the shadow, which we all have to learn, that's how we come, as he calls it, to the gift level. And this is so
the last 2 words. I couldn't hear the last 2 words. He calls it
by really getting to know our shadow, we come to the gift level, and with that we come into forgiveness.
Yes,
and it's part of it.
It's part of it, and it's part of the journey. And thank you for bringing that up, because what he said is, like he said, just play with this book. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, my first key, my life's purpose is 52. So I thought, okay, what does it say today? The first time I opened it, what number do you think I got? 52.
Mm-hmm. And then the other way of him saying it, which I like, he says there are 64 ways of being a victim of anger, a victim of this, a victim of that. And then to get to know, I mean, it becomes transformation.
Yeah.
And the breathing, even reading this, breathe into it, breathe into the victimhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much.
It's playing. Thank you for that. Contemplating, just enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Contemplation. It's beautiful. Thank you. And something else, I'll leave you with one of the things that I have discovered only in the last 10 days of my life. Come on, I'm 86 years old. I never knew this. We bought this home that has this huge 6-foot TV in it. And I discovered 10 days ago, I can get the most beautiful sounds and peace on that thing, and I let it run all day. So I have mountain streams with the sound of the stream and the birds, or I have beautiful music. I love piano and different sounds, and the music of the world I can have right there. All my that's I've been dreaming of for years, and I have it. And you can get Richard Rudd up there and Susie Aronson, who has brought the what are they called? The Ark. It's a dream ark where 92 animals that have messages. And that's what I'm working with now, which is fun. So blessings. Forgive yourselves. Enjoy the journey. Smile. Know that every time as you do the heart hug and you smile, that you are activating that feel-good hormone, the serotonin. And when you apply TTouch lightly to yourselves or your animals, you're getting the most oxytocin that Bruce Lipton calls the trust hormone. Let's bring trust to the planet with our animals and ourselves. Thank you all for joining me. I've just so enjoyed being with you all. And Marnie, thank you always for putting all this stuff all this information in the chat. Thank you. I will stop the recording.
Thank you, Linda. Ciao, ciao.
How are you doing with your body before you go?
Well, I try to go better. It is not so easy, but I can already walk a little bit better. I can go out with Kalika, but I can't hold her on the leash. And